Hello, Refine Co community. Marta Locklear here. I am here to finally introduce to you the brand new Refine 3 collection from Refine Co. I've worked so long and hard on this collection. I actually joked with my husband, I think this one broke me. Almost did. I've had so many variations of this collection. I had a vision and I really just wanted to try to nail that vision, and I think I did and settled on a collection I'm extremely happy with. And I cannot wait to show you guys. As you can see here, I have a beautiful collection of images, and something we did with Refine 2 that I loved and went back to it for Refine 3 is showing you this collection through our community. I reached out to our community and asked for them to submit images to use for this collection, and I think it's a great way to really show how this preset collection can work on a variety of styles, genres, and shooting styles. And this really gives you a good eye from all different levels of photographers. And we have some very new photographers and we have some very experienced photographers in here. And I think it gives you a really good idea of how different cameras handle. I think we have a little bit, we've got Nikon, Fuji, Canon, Sony. We have a little bit of everything mixed in here. So you guys are really going to see how these work on that. And I just love showing off your work. I got a ton of submissions and work that was stunning that I haven't seen. So I really want you guys to start sharing this work with us because we are not seeing it in the group and you guys are extremely talented. So keep doing that. But let's jump into this collection. I don't want to babble too long. Here's the collection. So we have 3 different presets. This is a little different than our normal way we've done Refine 1 and Refine 2, where you get one color preset and different strengths of that. We moved away from that. I built this a little differently. I've built it to use a color profile mixed in with a preset style. So you'll get a little bit of both worlds, be able to use your intensity sliders and things like that to increase or decrease the intensity. So that's why we didn't do several versions of each. But we've included 3 color profiles. They're very subtly different from each other, but enough that it gives you a little bit of versatility when you're moving from session to session, different types of lighting, different types of environment, greens, not greens. Very pale skin, you need warmer skin. Very warm skin, you need a paler skin. It really gives you a little bit of that versatility. And this is one of the things that took me the longest, is to find those happy mediums. So basically you have 3 color profiles in here. You'll still work from your left panel, but we'll bounce over to the profile panel just a little bit. And then a black and white, which I actually really love this black and white. I mean, I think all of our black and whites are amazing. I'm not going to lie. I'm super proud of our black and whites, but I'm really kind of loving how this one is. So it's a little different than our other collections. And then I've added in some filmic tools. Those are just quick tools that are going to help if you want a film look to add a little bit more of that to your image after you edit. So you'll use these to do that, and I'll go through each one as we get through the collection. And then some of our normal quick use tools. Obviously, a lot of these tools you can do right over here in your basic panels, but I've tried to make them quick and fast for you, so to save time editing. That's the whole purpose of building these presets from the beginning. And then so we've done it so it calibrates with our actual presets. So just quick tools. And then of course your undos, we try to include those as well. So let's just go ahead and take a look at a preset. So here's the first one click. One is going to be our, and I'm going to say this in air quotes, is our cleanest. It's not as clean as Refine 2, so please don't think that. This is definitely a film-based, color-shifted preset collection. So if you want clean, bounce back over to Refine 2. That's your preset collection for you. But if you're looking for something with a little more of a film tone, those deep cyan greens, you can see them right here. They're stunning. A lot of depth. We really wanted to wrap our subjects in some depth that looks kind of like film. But with this first version, we cleaned it up a little. So your skin is pretty clear. The color shift happens in the shadows, but subtly, you still get those great greens and that nice depth. So what you're going to do from there is right here, you can see the color profile we've built for Refined 3.1. And that's right here. And that's going to allow you to increase or decrease as needed. So if it feels a little heavy, you know, whether it's the camera, the lens combo you're using, the lighting situation, the environment, you can give or take a lot out of this. So you have that there. And then of course you would increase your exposure to taste. Everybody has a different taste level. But that's literally one click, and I can actually put this back to where it was That's one click of Refine 3.1, and I think it looks stunning. I will be doing a video showing you a comparison between 1, 2, and 3, so be on the lookout for that video as well. But this is it. I'm so excited about this preset. Oh my goodness. And let me just go ahead and show you the tones. This is where it's going to be very subtle. You're not going to see a drastic difference. It's mainly a little bit in the greens and mainly in the skin tone. So those are the two things that are different from 1, 2, and 3. 1 being the cleanest, 2 having the most warmth and depth, and you can easily see that. Let me pop one over here to the side for you. So you can see just how much it brought depth into his skin tone. So if you have a lighting situation where your skin is very washed out, need to add something back in, this will help. It's not a solution for translucent white skin. There's just no color there, and so there's no way to gain that back. But this does help give you a little bit more of the, I would say, Fuji meets Portra look, where you've got a little bit of those warmer, a little more saturated skin tones. That would be 2. And then 3 is kind of a mix of both, but with a pink highlight. And you can see that here. It's got a little bit of a magenta highlight to it. And you can, of course, tweak that out. If you need to take a little out, you can do it here in your profile slider. You can do it up here in your slider here as well. So you have so much flexibility in it, and you can, of course, adjust it out just with the white balance alone and make it your own. So this is great. Sometimes the pink tones, 1, if you're matching film that has pink tones in it, and 2, if you have a lot of greens, a lot of green color cast, things like that, the magenta balances out those greens and can really help neutralize that in your image and for a quick fix. So that's that one. I'm going to undo that. And then here's the black and white. So from here, what I liked about this is I wanted to create a black and white. It was pretty straightforward, but the kids get that kind of really soft, lifted shadow look, heavy film. And what you'll do with that is you'll slide this down to here, add on the thick grain. I'm going to take this off here so you can really see just, I mean, look at that. Look how filmy that looks. I feel like it just looks so amazing. And of course, if you want a little more contrast, you just push it. You've got the flexibility to do that without even hitting this panel, but then you have full flexibility to fix anything within these panels that you want. That's the difference of the way this collection is built compared to our other collections. I'm really happy with it, and I really feel like that I will start taking our collections in this direction. It really gave me a lot more flexibility on what I could do and provide you guys. So let's go ahead and just start editing some images. Here's one click. And again, right now we're seeing a big trend in more true to life tones. I wouldn't say just color tones, but actual lighting tones. People are pushing away from the light and airy. I'm seeing this from photographers, from luxury celebrity photographers all the way down, that they're looking for more of a, I wouldn't say moodier look, but more natural or darker look, kind of as shot, if that makes sense as far as the lighting goes. And then, so again, but you have the flexibility. We really beat this. I mean, look how much of that sky I was able to maintain that was gone here. And I brought that back with the way that this is built. So I would kind of go in here, maybe add in a little shadow. And this was a very hot day, I could tell, because everybody was a little sweaty. So they're a little extra pink in the skin from just being hot. So you can always take that out. You can do it right down here. We can go to yourself. You can see nothing is clicked, unlike our other presets where all of these you would see. So all I would do here is maybe pull out a little bit of this extra pink, maybe lean it a little bit to the orange side, and that instantly took the redness out of their skin, but maintained all the other colors in the image, and it looks amazing. I mean, just look at how these flowers pop against that green color. It's just beautiful. I'm so happy with this collection. Same thing. Let me go ahead and reset this since I changed some things. Let's go up here and just give it a little boost. And actually, you see here, this is how I work. I work fast there. There's the tools, backlit, backlit plus. So just those 2 clicks get you basically those lifts and shadows that you might need in a situation where they are slightly backlit. And then you also have color minus, takes out, if you've got, like you'll see here, we'll have super saturated greens. We might need to pull a little bit of that color out of that. Then color plus just gives you a little tiny bit of a, let me do this, a boost in the color tones. It's subtle, but it's just enough to really kind of enhance them. And that's good if you're dealing with images that are just a little flat. overcast and you need a little boost, we have take down the contrast, we have increase contrast, 3 different grains, harder to see on video, highlight, brings down those highlights even more than we already did. And then warm green, just for those, we've got these super cyan greens. Sometimes your environment will already have those deep, dark, say piney greens, and you need to kind of warm them up. They got too piney, too cyan, too teal, just for you guys that don't know color words. I'm an art major, so I throw all kinds of color words out there. Warm green will actually tone those down. Hopefully you could see it. Again, it's subtle, but if we look at this bush over here, and I hit warm green, you can see it just kind of neutralizes. You still have those beautiful cyan undertones, but it just neutralizes a little bit and gives a little more warmth. And of course, that's going to really warm up your warmer greens, but it really does help settle this down a little bit. So that's a basic quick look at the tools. Let's just go ahead and work on some edits. We've tested this on everything: weddings, indoor, outdoor, babies, green environments. I think we've got some South Carolina greens, which I know I have some Southerners that are always complaining about their greens. We have dark northern greens, we have fields, a little bit of everything. So really, really work this through the ringer. One click of the number 1 for this little babe. I'm just going to lift this exposure just a smidge, put it here, same preset. And let's take a look at the film textures. So film texture, I'm going to zoom in a little so you guys can see. This is the exact same edit on both of these. Film texture, subtle, just takes a little bit of the clarity out and adds in some film texture. It's minor, this is little, but it really does just give a little softness to the image. I'm going to undo that real quick, zoom back in. Well, actually, let's zoom out for this one. So soft film. Soft film is going to take a little bit of that depth out of the image. It's going to give you a little flatter of an image, lifted shadows, and just a soft film look. And you can see there. And I may even turn down the exposure on this one a little, but you can see it really softened the babe. It does have some grain in it, and it lifts the shadows, a little bit of film texture and clarity pulled out of it. So it really does just kind of soften the image up if you're not wanting a fully deep, saturated image. And underexposed, not sure it'll work on that. Let me undo on this image particularly. Yeah, it's not going to show as much, but see, it just kind of flattens that light and makes it a little bit of a flatter image, almost like we underexposed it a little. So there's one. And let's just go ahead and reset and look at 2. Same thing, lift. So you see it's not a drastic difference. You got a little bit of difference in the whites, but you can see a lot more saturation here in the warmth and the luminosity of the skin. And then 3 is that nice magenta based one, and it's just enough pink. And like I said, you can turn it down right here. You can turn a little bit of that down if it's too much, but you still want that nice soft pink tone. You've got that right here with full flexibility to adjust. And let's reset again and look at the black and white. Straight out of the box, looks great. If we want to go for a little more of that softer film look, I would do this and add on, I might even add this on, there we go. And look at that, looks a beautiful old film shot of the baby. I think it's stunning and super excited about that. This one, I'm just going to go straight to black and white because we love seeing these. Let's try soft film. And look at that. Beautiful grain. All the details are still there, but it just has a little more of that film look. And this one, since it's a horizontal, let's do this. There we go. And there you go. 2, a little more saturation. And 3, a little more of that pink look. Like I said, I can turn this down just a smidge and that looks beautiful. Very high contrasted image. We got bright whites and very dark suit. Let's take a look at how this one reacts. And I'm going to lift from here. Soft film to kind of lighten things up a little bit. And I may take a little warmth out, just a smidge. I don't want to take out too much. And let's add in a deeper grain. And look at those tones. You can see her face skin, maybe some spray tan compared to her hand is quite different. So you're gonna have to deal with that. But what you can do if you have that and you still want to cool her down a little, because his skin looks amazing, her hand looks great, arm looks good. This may be a little heavy, is just pull out a little of this saturation right here in your slider, and that just neutralizes it so it's not too much of a contrast from everything else. But there's your before, after. And next image, let's do a little straightening here, and maybe we'll do a nice little film crop. All right, and here we have some South Carolina greens. Let's see how these work. There we go. Lift. And I'm going to do backlit. I'm just going to try them and see. Yeah, I think I need to be somewhere in between those two for these dark areas. Maybe add in a little warmth. And let's go ahead and go back to our side by side. And there you go. You can really see how those greens just completely shifted. We could do a warm green on this, and you see it's subtle. These still have the nice greens on them, but they, you know, the nice cyan greens, but this green neutralized a little bit. There's with, you can see back in here. As soon as I do this, it helps neutralize a little bit of that, but I actually really like it. I think it looks a little more filmy this way. And so we're going to keep it there. And then if we look at the other two, that's the warmer version, which is nice with the sun. You know, it gives you a little more of that California look. And 3 has a little more magenta. Here's just a detail shot, but I think this showed off the shadows really nicely. You can see just one click. I haven't adjusted anything, just how much it brings out that kind of filmy cyan in the shadows, and really gives us a nice look. We're going to warm it up just a smidge. Increase exposure a smidge, and maybe even push it a little further. You can see, watch those shadows, and you can see if I push it up, it really brings that kind of film tone in even heavier. Here's your side by side. Looks way more like a film, you know, obviously straight out of camera. And then you can of course add in your texture. If you want to do soft film, you could, but it really gives you that look. More of those South Carolina greens, but I really enjoyed how this image edited, so I wanted to show you because it showed off the blue sky and the tones we were able to achieve there as well. I'm going to lift from the shadows here. And if you guys watch my editing videos before, you know I don't like to crank my exposure. I rather lift from the shadows to lift things up. We work really hard to build in tone curves that allow you to do that, and that way you can maintain your highlights really well without overexposing them. But there is a side-by-side. You can see how it just really gave you those overall film tones and a nice, quick, easy edit. And I would put some film texture on this. Again, it's not something you're going to easily see in video, but it really does add just that nice little touch to everything. And of course, the other two, subtle, you can see the magenta more than not. But again, that looks amazing as well. I mean, if you like those nice kind of like magenta highlights, that really gives that to you. Another image, we can get a good look at some skin and greens on this one. Let's do one click of the first just to get started. But look how it really just did those greens. I'm going to go ahead and increase the warmth a little bit. And that white balance does make a big difference on how those greens show up. So you still have to use your white balance. You still need to get your skin tones right. Again, if you've watched my videos, you know the first thing I look at is the skin when I'm adjusting white balance, because I want the skin to look good. I'll attack the rest of the image from there, but I always start with the skin when I'm white balancing an image to make sure it doesn't look too warm or too cool and just looks natural. So that's basically one click and some white balance, and that looks amazing. We've got these beautiful cyan shadow tones in the water. The greens are beautiful. Maintain the sky perfectly. Super happy with this. Let me go ahead and do this one in black and white too, because I think it will look gorgeous. Look at that. And let's go ahead and do, yeah, soft film. Let's throw on the thick grain on this and zoom in and take a look. It looks like it came out of your 35mm film camera. That looks gorgeous. And you can, of course, bring down the grain a little more delicate. And of course, the first one is what's built into the preset. And you can always undo it all right here. You got undo, take all the grain out for you. But that looks gorgeous. And then from there, you can increase or decrease how much you could, even that looks amazing. To me, that looks like almost like a slight high key film shot, you know, like a little bit overexposed, and it looks gorgeous. I'm so excited about it. I'm gonna try not to gush too much over this collection. All right, another great shot. We got a lot of contrast in this and a lot of green. We've got some warm greens here. We got some very already cyan greens. So let's take a look at how this works. One click, just lift. It already maintained her gown, which is great. I'm gonna put a little tiny bit of warmth in this. Not a lot, but that looks stunning. Let's go ahead and pop this over here to the left. Let me zoom in so you guys can take a look at everything. It's got just enough of the filmy shadow tones. I didn't want to overdo it. You can overdo it. If you want to add more, get it to slide, you can do that right here. You can go ahead and crank this all the way up, then lift those shadows, and you're going to have even more of that blue green tone in your shadows and in your grains. So you have the flexibility to push this further, especially if you're film matching your film. Some film comes back a little cleaner, sometimes it comes back very cyan and very shadowy or cyan in the shadows, and this gives you the flexibility to do just that. And same thing, if we feel like it's a little too intense, we can knock it back right there and kind of find a happy medium. But I think that looks amazing. Let's take a look at how the warm green looks on this. Subtle, but it just knocked a little bit of that color out. You can see here, see how it just kind of knocks just enough out. A little desaturation and shifted a tiny bit to the warmth. And that really just gives you a little more of a subtle green in an image like this where the green may feel a little overpowering. And then of course we can do things like knock back the highlights to gain back a little of that dress. We can add in some contrast if we want. This image is a little contrast heavy, so I don't recommend. Take a little out. We could do that as well. There's really a lot of things we do. If we want to go filmy on this, we can underexpose. You can see it just flattens out, clips those black points, and gives you almost a little bit of that underexposed look. But it looks gorgeous. Let's click through. This one is going to need a little bit of warming. Get my computer to catch up to me. Okay, it might be moving a little fast. I'm going to go ahead and warm this one up a smidge. There we go. And let's click through. There we go. And I think I will warm it up just a little more. There we go. And look how that just enhanced the image. It still looks clean. It doesn't look over processed. It has a nod to film, but it's still clean. Definitely more saturated and has more depth than Refine 2 and Refine 1. Refine 1 being the softest of the three collections, Refine 2 being the cleanest. Like these greens would stay this color with Refine 2. Wouldn't have as much depth. But this is the deep greens everybody wanted with the clean palette. It was not an easy task to keep skin clean and get you those filmic tones. So that was challenge accepted, and I worked hard to get that. But you can see just how beautiful, this may be a little too zoomed in, hello. How beautiful the tones all stayed. They look authentic, but they definitely nod. Look how her skin warmed up just nicely. We tried really hard to keep this red without overdoing the reds, and it really did turn out lovely. Another beautiful wedding shot. Let's see here. Let's go ahead and click through. So there's one, and I'm going to adjust in a second, but I want to look at the tones. There's two, kind of like the warmer skin tones on this one. And there's three. Ooh, three is nice because it brings out the blush in her dress. So let's just kind of play with three on this one. So same thing. Let's go ahead and lift the exposure just a smidge. I do not want to blow out any of these highlights, so I'm going to stop there. And then use our backlit tools to lift and see which one we want. Again, I feel like I want to be right in the middle. This one had a lot of contrast, so I think I want to be somewhere in between those two. Maybe pull a tiny bit of warmth out. And if I wanted to pull back contrast, I could. I could also pull back on the blacks for his suit if I wanted to soften him up a little bit. But honestly, straight out of the box, that looks pretty good. It gives a beautiful tone. We've got that pink tone, but her skin still has the warmth in it. It didn't go 100% pink, same with him. And the highlights are subtle. Like, her dress still looks white, but it has a slight magenta tone to it. And you can see it right here in the rocks, definitely. You compare these two, you can definitely see it's got that blush. But if you put it by itself and you're not looking at everything, it actually looks extremely authentic, extremely filmy. We do soft film as well. And that just softened things up quite a bit. Now this image is overexposed, so we would want to pull this back a little bit. And as far as exposure goes, because it's a question we get quite a bit, for this collection I suggest right at middle exposure, maybe even slightly under, just to maintain highlights. But honestly, I say expose for your highlights. So if your highlights are blown out, you need to knock down your exposure a little bit, because that way we can pull a lot back with the preset, but it just keeps you from losing color data if you don't overexpose your images. So this image was slightly overexposed, so I would suggest we're almost at a full stop under. Gorgeous white balance, gorgeous tones. And let's take a look at the preset on the image. Let's see. Oh, yeah, there we go. And let's just go ahead and adjust as needed. See, I don't want to do too much because I don't want to lose these flowers here. So let's do a backlit. Might even need the second one. There we go, second one. And I'm actually going to pull back on the highlights just a smidge to protect these flowers that are over here. And look at that. Look how these flowers come alive. Look how the shoes come alive. The details, that nice, if you're familiar with film, you'll know that we get this nice, it's almost neon pink in the pinks and reds. I shot a ton of Fuji film, and I loved when my clients wore like pinks and of course the blues, the aquas. They just looked beautiful in that film, but it had this lovely, almost neon, like a desaturated neon pink in it. And I really worked hard to try to replicate that here. And you can see it in these flowers, and that just gets me super excited. And let's go ahead and add a boost of color. So again, it's subtle, but just bringing a little more color back into this, I do feel like we can maybe lift this just a smidge, but that just looks so stunning. Let me see if we can get that. There you go. Okay, opposite. Here's an image that is underexposed. Let's put it side by side. With that said, yes, it's underexposed, but these flowers did not get blown out. Had we exposed properly for the subject, these flowers would have been completely blown out. So that's a good reason to underexpose your images a little bit when you have a white like that. So I'm actually going to go with the second one, and we're just going to start cranking this up until we can't, until we get to that happy spot. Let's go ahead and add a little bit of warmth in. It's definitely a little cool in these open filtered shade. There we go. And then the rest I'm going to lift from here. And we're going to try to fix those flowers a little bit, see if we can knock back. There we go. I think that's a good spot. So let me pop this over here to the left. And then I want to show you how we can really kind of push the intensity on this even more. I think that looks stunning, but let's just crank it. There you go. Still looks good, still looks natural. It's not overdone, but it's pushed. So you've pushed the darks, you've pushed the cyan and the shadows, and even pushed the skin tone a little. So I think it looks amazing. Like, I love it. The other thing you could do is you could increase contrast and really give it a little bit of a pop. See how that just cleans things up and gives it a little more crispness. And like I said, you can just adjust. You can really just find your sweet spot with this. And look how that actually brings some of that warmth in the green back when we tone it down. But I think it looks really good right in here. And this one, I wanted to show you the warmth. There we go. And we're going to add in some warm tones, kind of really get an autumn vibe on this one. We don't want to push this too far. Let's look at soft film. See how that really just lightened everything up and gave it a little more of that softer, flatter look without all the depth. But if you want that depth, you just go back to the original and then maybe add in film texture so you get the same texture without the softness. And then maybe a color plus just to kind of enhance these trees a little. Look at that sky, clouds were maintained, everything looks amazing. I'm actually going to pop this over here to the left. I'm going to reset. And you see how I didn't even touch the highlights, but look how much those highlights were maintained and actually recovered with the preset. So now I want to do it in black and white. I can literally stop right there and that looks gorgeous. We can do underexposed if we want to flatten those black points out and clip those black points. That looks gorgeous for an underexposed look. Or we can do a softer kind of washed film look right there. I love the versatility in the way this is built now. All right, here's another one. High contrast, high color, shade. We've got warm light, we've got cold light, we've got a little bit of everything. So let's see how this works. Almost amazing straight out of the box. So I would do that. Let's do this backlight plus. There we go. We can maybe even pull down this exposure a little just to save up in here. We can also knock down the highlights just a little if we want to save that. And look at that. All the suit details there. It was gone in the original. All the warm colors are there and enhanced. We could even throw on a color boost. It's subtle. You're not going to really notice it right away. But look at this color palette in here. How gorgeous is that? Absolutely stunning. We recovered the highlights. Everything looks gorgeous. And you can even warm it up if you like a warmer edit. Go somewhere in there and that looks great. I'm going to go ahead and take this landscapes I like to do in full screen because they get so tiny. Another one. So I would start here, increase exposure just a little, and I'm going to push the film look on this. So watch it just subtly, just really, I can go all the way up on this. And it actually really helped cut through the haze. Let me pull that, look at that. One click of the preset, a little bit of exposure, and then just cranked it up. And that looks absolutely stunning. And then if we throw film texture on there, let me undo that real quick, see if you can see it. It's going to be subtle. Film texture, maybe throw in the heavy grain. I mean, that looks amazing. And then I'm going to undo both those steps. I'm going to put this over here on the left and let's go ahead. We were at 30, I think. There we go. Let's look at the other two so you guys can see the tone differences. So there's this one. There's a big difference. You can see this one has a little more of the shadow tones. It's got a deeper skin tone. And then this one is the magenta one. I'm going to pull out so you can really see those pink highlights there, but honestly on this image it looks freaking amazing. So, and then we can crank, that might be a little too much, a little too pink on this one, so I don't think you can crank that. If you needed to work on the contrast and the depth on this one, then just add in a contrast pop. But there you can really see the difference in the tones. All three look gorgeous on this image. All right, I know I have a lot of beach shooters out there, so this is for you. You guys are enjoy this. I've got a few more of these as well. But here's your standard sand dunes, southern beach family session. One click. And you can see, look at everything's just, it just looks natural, but filmy, but still clean. And that's a really hard combination to do because Refined 2 is our cleanest collection. It's clean, as clean as it can be. So I truly try to find that happy medium because you guys are asking for it and I wanted to give it to you. But you can see how everybody's just very well enhanced. We still have those beautiful cyan shadow tones, but the skin doesn't look dirty or muddy. These greens look amazing. And then let's take a look at how it pushes. So I'm going to keep zoomed in on these guys. And then if we push this, you can see it really just even increases the depth on them. And it still looks amazing. And then you can tweak here if you want. If you like things a little warmer, you can do that, but it just looks great. Then we've got 2 where the skin tones just get a little deeper, a little richer. And then 3 where we get a little bit of that magenta and pink highlight. And again, you can pull that, you need to pull it down here and knock some of it out. Or if you just take your tint slider, you can combat it just a tiny bit here. So if you want some of it, but you need it real subtle, that's how you can do that. I apologize if I feel like I'm going fast. I'm trying to keep this from being an hour-long video for you guys. I just did auto white balance on this. It was just a smidge warm. And just because I've played with this image a lot, so I know auto gets me pretty right on. So 1 click of Refine 3.1. And I will add film texture to this. And it looks gorgeous. Let's pop her over to the left here. Undo preset. And 2, because I really think you're going to get a good look at the skin tones here. Subtle, but deeper. You know, I tried not to overdo it. That's why it took me so long on this one, because sometimes it just turns super orange, but I really wanted to give it the push. And if you need more push, just do it right here. You can see how that instantly gives you more of that depth, which we see a lot in film, just depending on how it's shot and the lighting in the situation. You can keep giving it more by just using your slider. And that's why I was so excited about building it this way. Same thing, undo preset, and let's take a look at 3. And there you go, same thing. A little bit more depth in the skin tones. This one has a little more of the pink tone. You can see it here in the highlights. Subtle but beautiful, very much like the film stock that we see. All right. And same thing. So we're going to warm this up a little. Maybe add just a smidge of magenta. There we go, 1 click of the preset. And I'm not going to adjust the exposure yet, because I really want you guys to see what happens when you click on it. These both have the same white balance, same exposure, everything. Really brought in a lot of depth, but look at just how it enhanced these flowers. I'm a garden person, so this really makes me excited. But it really just brought in so much depth. Worked really hard to have a nice gradation from the deep darks to the lights. That way it looked authentic and gave a lot of like roundness and depth to things. I mean, just look at right here and just look at that. It almost looks 3-dimensional now. And again, that's hard to do in a preset. So I'm super, super excited about it. I'm really sounding silly and gushy on this, but it really has been a labor of love. And I'm super excited with how it turned out. You can stop there. You can push it. You can do less, more, but it looks great. I'm really, really excited. All right, we have a little bit of an interior shot, a little bit of Asian skin tone. So that is good for you guys to see. I've got some variety. I have more skin tones coming up in here. They just kind of landed in order, so I just went with it. I honestly could stop right there. I think that looks amazing. I shot film 100% for 5 years, and this is literally how I would get something back. I prefer to clean scan, but I liked my film tones. So this collection is probably very reminiscent of that. I would just maybe lift these shadows just a little so they're not distracting, but it just looks gorgeous. Just enough of the cyan in the shadows to give you those filmy tones here, but everything's enhanced. The skin is warm. The whites are just, they're beautiful. I'm just so excited. Okay, pop that over there. Say we want to do soft film. You can see how it instantly lightened those shadows. Gave us a little bit of texture. We could throw on the heavy grain on this. And it's heavy, but it looks natural. That looks so good. And here's the middle one. And here's less. Hopefully you guys can see that. Probably not because it's so subtle. But that's beautiful. So again, let's reset. Take a look at 2, because I think this will give us a real good look at the depth in the skin tones. You can see it right there, nice and deep. The baby skin tones stayed pretty authentic. It's really in these oranges and yellow tones that it gets a little deeper. And then the pinker one, you can See, it just adds a nice pink tone, but it honestly looks beautiful on this. And if you were kind of going for a feminine look, maybe it's a little girl, and you wanted to add just that slight little blush tone to it, you could definitely do that with this. Add on some film texture. Looks great. All right, where are we at? There we go. All right, more beach for the beach people. One click. And if you want more light and airy, I would go with the double, but honestly, I think I like it here. I like the depth and shadows, but look how this water was enhanced, but isn't like, oh my gosh, it's neon blue. You know, it's just nice, deep, rich water. Highlights in the sky maintained. If you want to push it, you can definitely push it. You can see how that water gets even more electric. And then all you do is just lift from the shadows to kind of neutralize the push, but you keep that color. And that looks gorgeous too. And then if I go back here, we can do soft film. We could add on some grain and really give you more of a filmy look. Okay, I know I have some willow shooters. I had a favorite willow tree I used to shoot at all the time. And as you can see, willow can, in the light, just neon yellow green. It's just so hard. And then your subjects in the shade lets you see how the presets work. Looks a little scary at first. Lift. And we're actually going to have to add, believe it or not, we're going to have to add warmth to this, which we should because they were in the shade. But look how it neutralized that yellow green in the back. It still looks authentic. It still looks like it was gradiating from dark shade to super bright light. But we're able to add in warmth to the skin. I'm watching her skin right here. And I'm going to go ahead and lift a little from the front. And if I want to lift a lot, I can for that nice light and airy soft look. But honestly, I think I like it kind of right in between, somewhere in here. I'm going to add on the second grain. And I'm going to add on the film texture because I like that it takes just a tiny bit of that digital edge off and puts in that texture. But look at that. It looks stunning. And then from there, like I said, you can go light and airy if you want. I would not push here because honestly it looks a little too overexposed. But then you can also crank it. That looks a little too extreme. You see how it pulled all the warmth out. So you kind of want to find that sweet spot in there. Or if you want to go under, it takes a little bit of the cyan out. Next image. All right, now we have a reception table. Looks like this was low light. Candles are lit. Let's just run the first preset to get started. And we'll pick our tone from there. There we go. You can see that beautiful film color shift that happened. But once we increase exposure and once we warm it up, because it was a little cool, and I think we might be able to pull a little bit of magenta out. I feel like there's a little magenta in this slide. There we go. And there you go. So just white balance and exposure. That's all I did to this. And then if you want to add grain and stuff, you can, but super easy, beautiful. You've got those lovely shadow tones that we see and love from film, but it still looks clean and authentic. All right, here's some more skin tones. And this image is, believe it or not, a little cool for being on the beach. So I would warm it up just a bit. Maybe even, it might be a little overexposed, but barely. One click. And it did not wash them out. I kept all of their tones. I'm lifting from the shadows because he's landing in the shadow side. You can see the shadows are falling on his chest. But that looks amazing. Maybe pull a little magenta. This slide, you can see the pinks kind of in here if you look at it. So I'm pulling a touch of the magenta out, just giving a little bit of a cool tint. But there you go. That looks gorgeous. And then the second one, probably not going to see the warmth as much. You can probably see it in the highlights of his skin. Between the two, let's see. Yep, you can definitely see it there. You can see it got a little more neutralized, took some of those reds out, and of course there's the pink version, but it looks gorgeous. You guys will recognize this image if you've already been on the website and seen the collection. And one click, increase exposure to taste, And if you want to lighten these up, you can just lift or use backlit. You can use the backlit tool here, and that just, but look how lovely her skin looks. Gorgeous. 2, just a little more depth in the warm tones. And then 3, the magenta, just so you can see it kind of in the highlights of her skin. All right, let's do another one. It's another image you probably recognize from the website. I'm just going to lift until everybody in general, he's a little dark because he's following in the shadow line. So that's where backlit would come in nice and handy. So I'm going to add a little bit of warmth to this. And I feel like we need to lift him just a smidge more. There we go. I'm going to pop this over here and look at the other tones. Did not mean to double click that, got a little hasty. But here you can really see the difference in that skin tone. So this still looks great. It's just a little warmer. So it's really about personal preference. But it's not overdone. Doesn't look like she has a spray tan or anything like that. It just looks like her skin is enhanced, a little warmer to kind of fit different film scans. And then 3 is the nice magenta. You really see it in the sand here. I'm not going to bother straightening because it's just going to take too much time. So there's 1 click. And I'm not going to lift much from the exposure just like before. Just going to lift here. I think that looks stunning. And again, you can cool down the magenta and really get a little more of that cyan tone to it, or you can keep the magenta in. You can cool down the warmth. You can add in more, but it really gives you a lot of versatility. But these finite sky details like this, and I'm not going to lie, in our past preset collections, even though we do work really hard to maintain highlights, would not have been maintained. This was another thing I added in this preset in the profile to really knock those back, and I'm really proud of that. Love this indoor shot, natural light. Got a lot of variety here. Mom leans a little pink and red. Kids are pretty, well, baby's fair. Pretty natural, a lot of color. And let's see how this works. There we go. And I absolutely adore this moment. Just going to go off of Mom here. So I'm going to cool down just a smidge. I'm going to add in some green to kind of neutralize her reds. And I can always do that here in the HSL slider, but honestly, I like the little bit of green tint because I feel like it just gives it a little even more of that film tone. Look right in here. You can really see those film tones. For my film shooters, you'll know what I'm pointing at. Pink's got nice and pinky, lips, everything just looks authentic. And then I'm going to put on the film grain and the heavy texture. And look at that. Looks stunning. I love this shoot so much. I was so excited to get these. This entire shoot. You'll see more of it down the road, but it's amazing. This is from the same one. I love it. So I really wanted to keep the mood of this. So I'm not going to push the exposure at all. I'm going to lift a tiny bit from the shadows, but I think as shot, it's honestly stunning. There's really not much I would do with it, but we wanted to enhance this grass and kind of get those filmy tones. And you can see it maintained the sky. If I push the exposure, the sky is going to go away. We don't want that. This looks pretty, but again, staying true to the whole, let's maintain it as it looked and not overexpose it, not push it too far. I'm just going to lift slightly from the shadows. And there you go. Look at that. You see all her details. She's got tattoos on her arm. She's got a full sleeve, so that's why her arm looks so dark there. But look how it just enhanced the grass, and the silk looks amazing. The greens look good. Sky's maintained. Love it. This is another one I want to show you in black and white. And I am going to pull a little more of that sky down because I'm going to lift here. And you can go hard with it and get real moody, or you can go soft and throw on a grain. And look at that. Gorgeous. This one I pulled just for black and white because I freaking love it. I think it's amazing. And there's 1 click of the black and white. I'm going to lift just a smidge. And you could brush it this area. I think that works though, just kind of lifting that little bit of shadow point. But if you wanted to enhance right here where her eye is, I would just do a mask brush and just kind of really enhance this little tiny bit of sliver of her face right there. A reflector would have done it as shot, but stunning image, emotive, beautiful. Throw on the grain, throw on the film texture, and it just looks gorgeous. All right, we're almost done. So this image slightly overexposed, but I'm going to tweak after I run the preset. There we go. And I think I would bring this down just a little and then maybe lift the shadows a little. See how her face is just darker than here, whether it's just the way the light hit her or the makeup job that was done. So we're just going to lift just a smidge to kind of even that out. Film texture, that looks gorgeous. See how it just gets like a little bit of a glow. Taking that off, soft film just kind of flattens things out a little bit. I would put on a nice grain on this, and that looks gorgeous. This one, we showed it on the website in black and white, and I love it in black and white. I'm going to soften it up. I'm going to do film texture and grain. And for those of you that have shot film and get that nice soft black and white film, here it is. And I think that looks stunning. All right, last one, interior shot. Cute maternity in a nursery, love it. One shot of the refined one. And same thing, this is leaning a little magenta right here. You can see it in the whites. That's the key. That's how I can tell this is leaning magenta. This is a white bed, so there's a lot of pink and purple in there. So what I'm going to do is just take a tiny bit of the magenta out. That was too much. There we go. And then we can work with the image from there. So I'm going to pop it over, undo preset. Let's take a look at 2 so you guys can see a comparison. You can see the skin's a little deeper, a little warmer. And then 3 is the magenta, and I think that I would maybe pull this down in here, right there, and that looks gorgeous. So there you have it, guys. There is a look at Refined 3 on a lot of different images by a lot of different photographers from our community. I adore you guys. Thank you guys for the patience in this collection. If you ask my beta testers, I put them through the ringer with versions of this. Because it just wasn't there yet, and that's why there's been a delay. But I felt strongly about putting out a high quality product that worked on everything and then really gave the result that I was craving out of this collection. So I appreciate y'all's patience in waiting for this collection. Please share your work with us. I loved everything that was sent in to me. I just couldn't use it all. But I want to see more of it. So you guys really need to start sharing sneak peeks of your shoots with us inside of the Refine Co community group. That link is down below. Make sure you subscribe to our channel. I'm basically one-man show. I have teams that help me in departments, but when it comes to YouTube videos, editing, troubleshooting for customers, and development of the product, it's me. So that's why things take a little time, but I'm working on it, and I hope to get you guys some more videos. And this winter, I am working on the Lightroom masterclass for those of you guys who want to dive deeper into editing. I have a couple other things up my sleeves that'll be coming, but thank you for being a part of our community. I hope you enjoy this collection, and be sure to share your work with us. Talk to you guys soon.